All right, glad to have you with us. Keep the calls coming, 888-957-9570. Keep the chat coming on Twitch and YouTube. Thank you for being there. Xfinity Mobile text line as well. I really thought we got to enjoy Brock Purdy playing quarterback in a different way because most of us, even if we had fears, you're watching Brock Purdy not through the lens of he's taken over the rest of the way. You're watching him through the lens of, okay, let's see, like it looks like he's got a shot to win this Dolphins game. And you're not flooding with the whole idea of the 49ers have lost their starting quarterback for the second time this year. So I don't know how that would have changed the experience, but man, you're watching Brock and I'm going, I don't know where this is going, but this dude is not scared.
Yeah.
He is not scared. So,
which is a huge first step in that spot, in that league. And I actually was watching Brock with the thought of Garoppolo's done. I thought high ankle sprain, 4 to 6 weeks, and if you start to do the math and they've got 5 more games, you're thinking, okay, he's probably done for the rest of the regular season. Maybe they can get Jimmy back for the playoffs, and then as his designation changes and as you start to realize and you see the replay one more time and it's like, oh, God.
Yeah.
When that ankle folds like that, usually the high ankle is more of a side roll. This was an over-the-top, and then you realize this dude is done.
Yeah, and it's a bad one, and he needs surgery. And so now here we are trying to figure out where this is going to go next with Brock Purdy. And there was one tweet that caught my eye last night from former 49er Adam Snyder, led us down a little bit of a rabbit hole to realize that he was the offensive line coach for a high school in Perry, Arizona, Perry High School, Arizona, where Brock Purdy did his work. They were there together. And that tweet, former 49er Adam Snyder, is essentially telling me, you think this is going to go really well for the 49ers, don't you?
I do. I do believe it, man. I saw him at a young age, and I knew that he wasn't there to play football. He's a football player, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. And the moxie that he showed yesterday, the confidence, is that something that you saw early on when he was just a high school kid in Arizona?
The leadership role he took on in high school, you could tell right away that this kid was special. Athletically, on paper, he may not raise any eyebrows, but when you watch him play the game of football, he's smart. He makes good decisions, and he's actually super athletic when he does decide to run the football. He's had those qualities since he was in high school, and he took it to Iowa State and changed that program around. And so I was just hoping for him to get an opportunity. And it just happens to be with my faithful 49ers. And so I'm fired up for the kid, man. And I know he's excited about this opportunity as well.
So, Adam, I mean, yesterday was awesome, but let me be the fans' devil's advocate for a second and learn a little bit more about this, because you saw that in high school. As you said, you end up at Iowa State. You end up as a 7th-round pick, the last pick of the entire draft. With everything that you saw and you believe, why has his career path not had more belief from others?
You know, I think I honestly believe it's the size. He just doesn't fit the bill of what an NFL quarterback looks like. He didn't play at a huge school. I think when I was standing on the table for this kid in high school, just trying to get him an opportunity to play college football. And, I think the size is what kind of people don't really give him the credit for. But the kid can play, man. He can play. He can sling it, and he's smart. He's a smart football player. I know that Kyle is probably licking his lips going, yeah, here we go. I could do something with this kid.
How soon in the locker room can you see that a guy has got what it takes? And Kyle Shanahan referred to his anatomical courage, shall we say, as we try to keep it clean here on FM radio. But as an offensive lineman, as a former player in the locker room, how soon can you realize that a guy has that it?
Well, I think, you can tell by the times he shows up to the building and the times he leaves the building and what he's doing with his free time. I know Brock's the type of guy that's first one in, last one out mentality. And I think that I got some text messages the first day he was there, and he was like already in the building working with the training staff. Just the kind of stuff he does in his free time and how he spends that. That's kind of how you can tell off the field of what kind of player he's going to be.
Adam Snyder, former 49er, is with us. He was coaching the O-line at the high school where Brock Purdy was playing quarterback. So, Adam, I know you believe in Brock, but let's now bring in the situation. You're talking about an 8-4 team that's got playoff hopes, and even if he's going to be great someday, He's certainly short on experience right now. What is a fair expectation for where this is going next this season?
That's a great question. It's a lot of pressure. I mean, you have a stacked roster. You have one of the best defenses in the league. I think if he can just stay the course and kind of silence the noise and do what's asked of him, there's no reason why he couldn't take this team to a Super Bowl. He has the skill set. He's got the coaching staff, and he's got the guys around him. I know this moment's not too big for him. Just knowing the type of kid he is, he's going to put everything he's got into it. And I don't see why he can't win some football games here down the stretch, and then punch the ticket to the dance and see what happens.
Play the role of opposing defensive coordinator, if you would. Now you got 6 days or so to prepare for Brock Purdy. What do you see as his deficiencies? What are some areas that other teams will look at and try to put him into tough situations?
Just off the top of my head, probably mixing up the fronts, mixing up the coverage, showing blitz, those kind of things that come with experience that Brock doesn't quite have yet in the NFL. Try to play with him visually and present different fronts and that kind of stuff. I think that'll take some time. But again, Kyle, the way he designs his offense, he'll put packages in to get for Brock to get him out of those situations. If he sees something he doesn't like, he'll have a go-to throw. He'll have a go-to play to get to. So I think, that's probably what he's going to struggle with the most is recognizing fronts and coverages.
Adam, have you called him yet?
I texted him last night. I haven't gotten a text back, so maybe he lost my number. I don't know.
No, or maybe you were one of 814 texts.
That's probably more likely.
Yeah. But I mean, now is this someone that outside of last night you keep in touch with often? Have you been sort of mentoring him through anything as he becomes a pro?
He came back right before training camp, and I saw him. He was doing some quarterback training with my son, so I saw him then, and I'm actually coming back up to the Bay. I think the last game of the season I'll be there, and so I'll get to see him then. And I text him every once in a while just to check in. How you doing, bud? How you handling it? And he's in great spirits. He was in great spirits throughout the beginning of the season. And so, yeah, I mean, I keep in touch with him, try to tell him, hey, I'm here for you. Any questions you got, I can give you some advice or just be there for him to help get him through his first couple of years.
And now he's in a different spot than he was even 24 hours ago, where he goes from QB3 at the start of the year. Just learn and take your time. Now he's QB1. What sort of advice does he get? And is he the kind of guy who doesn't get overwhelmed by the moment like this?
I don't envision him getting overwhelmed. He's got his head on straight, man. He's raised by great parents, and he's got a great support staff around him. I just don't see how it's going to be too big for him. It's kind of, it's this kid that he has the it factor. And I think if you ask his teammates, I think I read a tweet from Fred Warner about the scout team when he was running the scout team reps. He just has whatever that is. He's got it, and I don't think it'll be too big for him, man. I think he's very humble, and he's not in it for himself. He's in it for his teammates, and gives his teammates the best opportunity he can give them. And I think it's a great spot for him to be in, man. It's a great spot for him to be in.
So, Adam, I mean, we get your personal ties, but you would suggest to a 49er fan that looks at this and even if they're like, hey, we like what we saw yesterday and open-minded to where this may go, but there's no way that this team can compete with Jalen Hurts and that Cowboy defense or a Mahomes or an Allen, your response would be what?
Let's let the tape. Let's let it figure out. We'll watch the tape later. I don't know. I mean, that's a tough question, man. You're right. Those guys are elite. Those guys are elite. Those teams are elite. The pieces of the puzzle are there. It's a matter of figuring out how that puzzle fits. And I think just trust the process, man. Trust the process and see what happens. There's no reason it can't be him. There's no reason it can't be. You know what I mean? That's kind of the way I look at it. Yeah. There's no reason it can't be.
And I think that he thinks that exact same thing. He doesn't come across as a guy who is doubting that he can get that done. How big of a luxury is it to have an offensive line anchored by a guy like Trent Williams?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, it's huge. Those guys up front just give him the confidence he needs that the pocket's going to be clean as much as it can be, and they're going to play their ass off for him, excuse my language. But yeah, I mean, having confidence in the guys up front allows you to now take a deep breath. And I would imagine that he's feeling pretty comfortable with those guys that are there. And the weapons he has, you don't have to hold the ball for 19 seconds. You just got to get the ball out of your hands. It doesn't have to be a perfect throw. It needs to be a catchable throw. And so I think, the confidence of the guys around him will ultimately raise his level of confidence as well.
Adam, great stuff. What are you up to these days? Again, you were coaching a handful of years ago. You've mentioned your son. What else are you up to?
Yeah, I'm currently in Orlando, Florida with my 12-year-old. We're competing for a national championship here. We're at the AYF tournament. And so I'm still coaching youth football. I got a 14-year-old boy who just finished his football season, about to enter high school. And I got a 12-year-old boy who's out here in Florida with me. And then got my daughter who's doing competitive gymnastics, and I got a 6-year-old boy. So I'm busy.
Damn.
My wife and I divide and conquer, man. I wake up every morning and go, okay, where do I have to be and who do I have to pick up?
Right. Are your boys also offensive linemen?
No, actually, my oldest son is a quarterback. They're much leaner than I ever was.
Okay.
Nice. They're not shopping in the Husky section like I was.
Is your son who's a quarterback, is he better than Brock Purdy?
I'm not going to say that yet.
Okay.
That's yet to be determined. He does have some skills, though. He's got some skills.
Okay. Yeah, you said he was working with Brock. Was he coaching Brock, or was Brock coaching your son?
That's a good question, man. That's a good question.
Yeah.
He's learning from Brock. He's learning from every time he's with Coach Minucci out there in Arizona.
Adam, great to catch up with you. Thank you for taking your time away from your family to chat this out, man. Appreciate it.
Of course, man. Thank you, guys.
Okay.